Hey guys, Paul here. This is another development update. We start looking by a fighter here. Here is a gunship class. Next to it is a corvette class. Next to it is a frigate class. And then behind it is a carrier. Let's just take a look at these scales. Here we go. So yeah, I said, we'd have some big ships, and this is one of the big ships. It's a bit incomplete still. I think it needs some more engines, things like that. Needs a bit more love. But this is a giant pirate carrier. We fly close to it and just take a look at the scale. It's pretty big compared to the fighter. So that was one of the goals for Void Destroyer 2, to have really massive ships. And here it is. So as always, there's always a problem somewhere. And in this case, the problem is the collision engine. So the way games are created is they're basically an illusion. Pretty much everything you see is an illusion. It's just math behind the scenes, math and data. So let's take a look at so what we're seeing right now is the 3D representation, art style wise, these ships, glowiness, stuff like that, right? This is what players mostly focus on. But behind the scenes, there's the collision layer. There's other layers too, but there's the physics layer. And we can toggle that. We can see the collision body here. So here's the collision body of this large ship. So sometimes when we make collision bodies, we make them really efficient. We do this sort of approximation where it just takes the extremes of it. Now with smaller ships, this is not a big deal at all, because they're small, so you can't like fly here. As the ships get larger, depending on their shape, it's not so bad. Like this ship is pretty regular. This ship is a little bit irregular. It has this sort of a wing there. So what happens is, let's turn off the physics debug here. What happens is we can't really fly in certain areas. Like here, we can't fly. We collide, even though, on paper, you should be able to fly through it, right? So that's just one type of collision body. So we already have something to do with that. We have another type of collision body. Let's take a look at that. Okay, so let's take a look at this little more advanced collision body. Let's do a nice flyby through our little fleet. Let's turn on the debug here. So as you can see, this collision body is a lot more accurate. Switch to tactical mode. It's a lot more accurate. We can fly through a certain place. We can get far closer than before. This is still not very accurate here. We see this sort of line here, but we can certainly get a lot closer. So for larger ships, for more irregular ships, this collision body is far better. For example, I could get like really close. Oh, okay. Switch to another view here. Actually, this kind of highlights a problem here. So we can't get close enough, right? So we can't even fly through this ship. It has a seemingly open space, but we can't fly through it, which is a bit of a downer, right? We have this cool ship. It's a carrier. It's got a hangar. It's big enough for our fighter to fit through. It's a large, massive ship. Sorry, guys. But can't get close to it. So there is another way of doing it. There is a way of representing the collision mesh exactly like the ship is, including with these sort of gaps and interiors. But the problem is that those types of collision meshes are not meant to be movable in the physics engine. So there's a physics engine behind the scenes, and that engine, I took an open source physics engine. And the reason why I selected that one was because it was the first one that worked. The other ones didn't work at all. Of course, that's not the fault of theirs. It's my fault being so new. Many years ago, 5, 10, 6 years ago, whatever it was, I was so new to coding that I couldn't get these other ones to work, but I got this one to work. Luckily, this one is still very supported. So it was a great choice. It was a lucky choice. It was a great choice. It's a great collision engine. It's open source, so I can do whatever I want. So even though by design this physics engine is not supposed to let me move this type of an object where it has this really accurate collision mesh, um, I can still do it because I have the source code to it. I can do whatever I want once you have the source code. I can change. Plus, it's flexible enough that I actually don't even have to mess with the source code of it. I mess with my own source code here. Okay, so here we are in the source code, and here's our sort of, here's where I tell what collides with what. For example, with planets, their group is static, and they collide with movers and with placeholders. Placeholders are when you build a station, you want to make sure you don't build it on a different object. You know, you can't build a station within a base. That just doesn't make any sense. It would be horrible, horrible. So static objects collide with movers and with placeholders. Here we have ships. Ships collide with projectiles. Invisible things are sort of, there's sometimes story-related markers. They collide with other movers, so they collide with themselves. Ships collide with themselves. They collide with static stuff like planets, bases, gates, asteroids. Attachments, those are the shields. Physical turrets, those are turrets that have a physical body because they're so big. And then placeholders, which again are stations. So I can have this, I added this new collision shape type called mover trimesh, and here I tell this collision mask to exclude movers. So that means is that movers are not going to smack into this collision shape anymore. So let's take a look at what that looks like. Okay, so we're back in the game, and let's take a look at our physics. Our physics are exactly the same. We still have the same collision body, but we excluded a mover from colliding with this type of a shape. I told this ship to have this mover trimesh type collision shape. So let's fly through it. For added drama, I'm going to do it in chase view. Projectiles still hit it, and we flew through it. So that's great, right? So now we have ships that we can fly through. Um, you know, that we're not colliding with hangars which are empty, right? That's all great, perfect, game of the year. Everybody's happy except that now I can fly through the whole ship. So it's not that I'm flying through empty space. I'm flying through the entire ship because I took out the movers colliding with this new type called mover trimesh. So what I'm actually going to have to do is I'm going to have to add a another collision shape to this ship, and just for moving objects like this ship, but this collision shape is going to be representative of the entire ship, including the gap here, and I'm going to tell that only movers can collide with it. So it's the moving shape of this ship is going to be this sort of simple shape, but for colliding with really complex objects. But with simple objects like this ship, the shape is going to be a trimesh shape. Okay, so I did a few approaches and they were a bust. Mostly my fault because I forgot certain terminologies, how they work with each other. There's things called collision objects and there's things called rigid bodies. And collision objects um, aren't for aren't great for stopping ships from bouncing into them and not going through them. So I scrapped that approach. So doing a little different approach. Now if we look, we can see that this collision shape of this ship is a trimesh. So it's very accurate. I can shoot through the hangar, which is great. I can fly through all these kinds of elements. I can fly through everything. I can fly through the hangar, just like I could with that station. Everybody's happy, right? Let's make sure that I can't fly through the ship itself. Let's make sure I bounce off of it. I did bounce off of it, so that's great. All right. Now the question is whether this ship is actually going to be able to move. Let's see if you can fly. All right, we are moving slowly because this is a slow big ship. Um, there's its engine struggling to move, and it reached its top speed, and the engines didn't fire anymore. Although there's a little tiny few flashes. We have to work on those. All right, so the question is whether this ship is going to collide with bases and static objects. So let's prep a environment to test that. So the way I do a lot of testing is in the battle editor. And what that is we have the simulator button here, we have the battle editor button here. And this will be available to players as well. But the way I have everything unlocked here, all the current ships, all the current bases, things like that. But for players, the way players will unlock these will be either through combat or purchasing with in-game credits. Obviously not real-life money or anything like that. No microtransactions, none of that. So we're going to toss a base in here. Which one do we want? Right. Toss a base pretty close to this ship so we don't have to travel far. So yeah, this is how I test things, and it's also a cool way for players to set up maps, do crazy battles, things like that. So it's a really cool dual purpose type thing. So you can add ships, stations, bases, asteroids, fields, things like that. But for now, let's hop into the game. And let's have our big boy move here. Actually, it'll probably try to avoid that base AI-wise, so I'm going to pilot it myself. There we go. And I have to tweak engine noise because it should be quite a lot faster. Oh, this might take a while, so I'm going to do a cut so you guys don't have to wait while we wait. Okay, we're a little closer. Let's look at the physics. So we have two tri-meshes. Let's see if they can collide with each other, or if our ship is just going to fly right through this base. Yeah, so we're flying right through this base. So this is obviously a big issue, and that's what we're going to work on some more until this sort of a thing can happen, right? Because this definitely is not Game of the Year material. Okay, so we're back. So what I decided to do was to add a secondary body to this ship, a secondary body that can only collide with stations, whereas the primary body is the one that ships can fly through, open spaces like the hangar. So I'm going to give it a command. Okay, so the ship is not moving, so that's one issue. Oh, what's happening there? Why is this other ship moving? Something is pushing it. Let's look at physics. There we go. So this is actually wrong. So we see the secondary physics there. I'm going to turn off debug because it's tanking the frame rates. So we see the secondary body there, and first of all, it's not linked to the primary, and the primary is not moving. So they're fighting each other basically. They're not talking to each other. So the link is not correct as I created. I need a better link there. Okay, so one issue was that the collision shape was being duplicated. We're still not moving, but we see that the other collision shape is much simpler. This one is much simpler here, which is what we want to see. So we fixed that bug. Now we need to fix the bug where the ship is not moving, just its physical body is moving. And where is it going? Is it just going to be spinning around forever? Yeah, it's probably just going to be spinning around forever. All right, so let's basically what the issue is these two, one has priority over the rendering, and the other one just has no idea what the hell's going on. So we need to be a little more clear to the physics engine what's going on. We need to basically sync their velocity, sync their positions, and that sort of thing. Okay, I did a minor tweak. Let's see what happens now. All right, so we have the right ship moving, or not so much the right ship, but we have the visual and the physical in place. The other body is not moving at all, but that's okay. At least we have the order right. Let's just keep following this guy. Yeah, looks like that's good. That's good. So the primary is this shape that I can fly through, and that's the one that's moving. And the secondary shape is this other shape. There we go. We can still fly through it. That's great. And then, oh my God, this debug is killing me. Yeah, okay. Yeah, this other shape, I should just be able to move through it. It's kind of goofy to even see it, but it's right in front of me. I should just be able to fly through it. Yeah, because the collision flags aren't set for me. So now what I need to do, I need to link that primary and secondary to the same position and have the same forces. So both move with the ship, and then we can try smashing into that base again and see what happens. Okay, so now there should be a link between the two. Let's give it a command. Let's turn on physics debug. And yeah, screen is shaking because of performance reasons. But yeah, the two are moving together. So if you guys want to see some goofiness, I'm going to fly for that base. We're going to smack into it. And the ship is probably not going to fly through it anymore. Well, it probably will fly through it. Yeah, I'm gonna I'm gonna bet that the ship is gonna fly through it, because even though the collision shapes are technically both there, the primary is not getting updated from the secondary. So what I need to do now is I need to say, hey, if the secondary collision shape detects a collision, then that's the important one. Then take its velocity and give it to the primary. So this sort of thing doesn't happen. And here's another exciting attempt. I don't think this will be a success, but you know, we go one step at a time here. And looks like we're tunneling through. Let's look at what physics is doing. Nope, physics does not care at all about this flagrant intrusion there. So let's keep trying. Alright, so we did some more work to link the two. Let's see what happens as we slowly go towards the station. So it's kind of funny because really I should just increase the speed of the ship, but so rarely do I do that to build up the anticipation, but we'll see in a few moments what's going to happen. There's our collisions, they look all good, and we're almost there, and the failure. Alright, so after many attempts, let's try this again. So what we're looking for is that the ship doesn't tunnel through this base, and also that we don't get a horrible performance loss like I got several times before, but should be fixed right now. And yeah, we're definitely not tunneling through. We're pretty well unstuck here. So let's make sure that our fighter can fly through this ship's hangar like we originally intended several hours ago. Yes, we can fly through the hangar. Now we want to make sure that we can't fly through the ship. Let's try to smack into it. There we go. First time in many, many months that I'm happy that I bounced off a ship like that. Yeah, so this took quite a long time. Maybe I should have attempted doing this earlier in the Kickstarter process because, well, my mind is pretty tired, pretty foggy. But things like this where things actually work, even though they take a while. Things like this keep me going. They get my motivation back up. You know, I'll be happy when I post this update. Yes, just wanted to make sure I can crash into the base too and not fly through it as well. Alright guys, hope you enjoyed watching this video. Hope you're excited as I am, even though maybe I don't really sound like it right now about these types of ships, these huge ships that you can fly through now if there's an opening. Hope you're excited as I am. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later.